Welcome back to the Tribal Lines podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Lupo, and our co-host, Pat Johnson, is not able to be here with us today. Unfortunately, for majority of the season, he's going to be dealing with stuff with his life that he is unable to be free for a lot of these podcast recaps for Survivor 47. He'll be on maybe two or three of them. We'll try to get him on as much as possible, but for the majority of this season, I'm going to be the primary host of Tribal Lines. I'm super excited to get to recap all these episodes with you guys. And so every week we're going to try to have a different guest host on to help me out and co-host with me. And that co-host today is the amazing Jackson LaMar. How are you doing, Jackson?
Steven, I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me, Pat. I wish you the best, man. I'm really excited that you asked me to come join because I'll tell you what, that first episode for Survivor 47 was really good. And I'm ready to talk about it, man. I'm ready to dive right in. Got
Oh
my
yeah.
buff on. Survivor Brantford, by the way.
There you go. Yeah, talk to us about Survivor Brantford. I know you played season 9 with me, but I
Mhm.
think there's another season coming out soon, right?
Sure is. Season 10 coming your way. January 11th. I almost said July. January 11th. It's going to be a fun one. Did be able to compete. I competed last year with Steven, who gave me first boot last time. So it's my redemption. This is my redemption story, hopefully.
There
Maybe.
we go. Yes, your redemption story for Survivor Brantford. And speaking about redemption, I was also the first boot of Caucus Challenge season 16 and Caucus Challenge season 17. I come back and I'm going for redemption. There's already been episode 1 out for Caucus Challenge. I'm wearing my jersey right now. So you guys should definitely go check it out on Dre Media's page on YouTube. It is an absolute amazing season that is coming your way. And definitely, if you want to see me do some awesome stuff on the season, definitely check it out.
I saw the first episode, Steven, and I think we were talking about it before. The snow made the first episode look pristine. As it's
Mhm.
falling while you guys are coming out, like the cinematography is great, the gameplay looks great so far, and I recommend it. Go watch the challenge, the Caucus Challenge. It's sick.
Yeah, definitely the snow coming down was so perfect for the beginning of the
Yeah.
game. It was freezing there. I think it was like 10 degrees or 15, 10 to 15 degrees like the entire time. I think there was one time at night it got down to like 5. Like it was so cold. Definitely a
Yeah.
tough season, but so much fun. And I'm looking forward to all of you guys watching it. And I'm also looking forward to Survivor Brantford.
Gonna be a good time, but it's not for
Yeah.
47.
But yeah, we're here. Survivor 47. Survivor is back on our screens. I'm so pumped. I was so excited to watch this episode, and it did not disappoint for me. It was a great first episode. I like a lot of the people on the cast. There's some people who I feel like I'm going to like, but have not seen almost any of them in the first episode. There's some people that I expected to win the game and absolutely crashed and burned very early on. I'm excited to talk about him. Um, but yeah, it was a great beginning episode. What do you think?
Yeah, this cast is really good. I am liking for what they are giving me so far. You mentioned one particular person who you thought maybe you're winning. We didn't even talk about that beforehand. I already know you're talking about Andy,
Yeah, yeah.
which we
Andy was
will get
definitely
to.
one of the people I was higher on in the cast going into the season. I didn't do that much research, very
Mhm,
limited, extremely limited, because I just wanted to see based on the edit, like which people I was gonna like, which I wasn't, not didn't really look very much into interviews,
mhm.
but for the little bit that I looked at, I thought Andy was gonna do well. And I don't see that happening at all. I don't even think it could be an Emily Flippin bounce back. I really don't, but you never know.
You never know. He's a numbers guy. He's a numbers
He's a
guy.
numbers guy. That is one of the reasons why I love him. He literally did a math equation on the screen, and I'm an absolute huge math lover, so that was amazing getting to see that.
That went
Immediately
over
I
my
was
head.
rooting for him, but then ever since that confessional, it went downhill.
Yeah, he definitely stole the spotlight for this episode, but obviously it's the first episode. Everyone got a little bit of love, some more than others, but I'm excited to dive in. Where do you want to start, Stephen?
Yeah. So my first ever in-person Survivor game, my first ever LRG was competitive events, hosted by Johnny Stockton. And on one of the seasons that I was not on, but a season of the LRG itself, Teeny was on it. She placed fourth place, got voted out right before the end, played an amazing game, and was the obvious biggest threat at that point in time. Uh, so even though I never met her personally, I know of her and I've been rooting for her. The whole competitive events family is rooting for her. And it was really cool to get to see her get the opening words on the mat. That's always a big deal when you get asked by Jeff. All of them get asked, but only a few of them get it shown on the episode. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we opened up this episode talking about LRGs. Teeny not only playing competitive events, I did see that she was also playing Survivor Pennsylvania with a
Hmm.
friend of mine, and I don't know she's a big LRG person. So I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for her, myself included. I never played with her, never even met her, but it sounds like a fun time just to hop on the bandwagon. And you are right about one thing: getting asked opening question on the mat is a huge deal because everybody and their mother who studies Survivor is always like, oh, ever since the new era started, the winner eventually gets asked a question on the mat. So that's a pretty big deal for her.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It really is. And also Andy, I was at for the first episode, I was at the Bryson Wendell watch party in New York City, which was so much fun. And I got to meet a few of your Survivor Brantford season 10 players, which was really cool. They recognized me as season 9. It was almost like I was a celebrity. It was cool.
Oh, hush up.
Um, but with Andy, I heard from like I talked to a bunch of people there who were just like friends and LRG people and whatnot, and they said they are all friends with Andy or have like met him at watch parties or like play Mafia with him on the side and stuff like that. So a lot of people know of him, and when they saw him crash and burn so hard and have those meltdowns, they were super shocked because they know him and they know he's a very strategic player, that he's very social. He is around the game, the LRG community in general. I don't know how many he's actually played or not, but he's around the community. So a lot of them didn't expect this from him, and neither did I. I did not expect this from him on the first episode. Um, I think it the being on the island, not having any food, bad sleeping conditions, the paranoia of the game definitely got to him mentally, which some people going into the game don't really expect to have something like that happen to them. But
Yeah.
it's the game of Survivor, and you can't really predict it.
And it was a little foreshadowed before the challenge that Andy wasn't feeling 100%. The night before, I forget which night it was, maybe night one, night two. I'm not sure, to be honest, but
Night
one of those
two.
nights he was really, really struggling to get some sleep and kind of had to wake up Rachel on the tribe, who he thought was his number one, not gonna happen. But he just wasn't getting enough sleep. He woke up the entire tribe to get Rachel to comfort him, which she didn't really do. And at that point, Andy kind of realized, oh crap, I messed up. So not only is he not getting the sleep that he needs for the challenge, he's also stressed out on the game level already. So kind of putting two and two together does not equal four for him. He's a numbers guy. Two and two does not equal four in that situation.
Right.
So you kind of see it coming. Kind of feel
Yeah,
bad for it, but it's awesome
and
to see.
with that whole conversation, definitely I'd say the first half where it was, he pulled Rachel aside and then Rachel was trying to tell him like, hey, this is not a great idea. They're gonna see that we walked off together. It's gonna put a target on our back. We shouldn't be doing this. And then he said, he was just thinking like, I don't care. Like, I still need to talk to somebody. Like, let's go down on the beach. So at that point, that is bad strategic move for Andy because He's also dragging Rachel down with him, and he is going to possibly be seen in a pair, and that could be bad for his game. And he wasn't really thinking strategically; he was thinking more emotionally, which I understand, but I don't think they should have went out together. It definitely could have put a target on their back. However, if Rachel is gonna go down with him anyway, at that point, you're already there. You should be the one to comfort him. You should be the one to like really make him feel seen, feel heard, and that will just strengthen your bond even more. If you do have to vote him out eventually, then you have to vote him out eventually. But if he's going to stay in the game, you want him locked in with you. So being nice in that situation, kind of like Kenzie was in 46 with Ben, can go a very long way. So maybe she was trying to comfort him, but based on the way Andy reacted in the next morning, saying that he didn't really feel the way he wanted to feel when he was having that conversation with Rachel late at night, he didn't really feel comforted. That's a bad job on Rachel's part. A missed opportunity, apps for sure, because this helped cause this eventual Andy spiral. I don't know if he would have spiraled as much if he felt secure with Rachel because he already felt secure with John. And like he said, if you get two people to not want to write your name down, you can't be voted out. That confessional actually made me think, oh, this is setting up for Andy to be the first boot.
Mhm.
That's what I felt like that confessional was trying to like secretly tell us. Because 100%, yes, that it'll be maybe tough, but one, you could have a 3-3 tie, and two, if there is going to be a 3-3 tie, then one of your numbers probably will want to stay in the majority and will end up voting you out anyway. So I don't think you need two people. I think you need at least three people to not want to write your name down to be safe. So
No,
yeah.
yeah, it's a really strong point because you never know what people are going to be thinking. The first tribal council, in terms of a tie, they're going
Mhm.
to want to not be the first one voted out or not risk going to rocks or not risk
Exactly.
having an ally go home. So definitely feel like three is the magic number to not want to, like a four. A four person is the
Yeah.
magic number. And we kind of do see a four person, or I guess three for now with the ladies. You know, Annika, Rachel, and Sierra all seem to couple up and they all had good relations with Sam. So honestly, before he knew it, Andy was already on the outside looking in, him and John.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, so let's get back to this first challenge, this first reward challenge. We had the classic mud, the running under the net in the mud. I think they do that like almost every single season. Survivor, let's be a little more original here, okay? But it is definitely a cool challenge in the beginning. You get a lot of cool shots of them muddy and running, and like this is Survivor. So I understand, but definitely they could have thought about something different than just that. However, I did love the twist of where they had to run into the jungle to get the puzzle pieces, and that there were different puzzle pieces under different contraptions that were you needed to get them out of, like tied by a rope or something like that. And it was this puzzle that we've never seen before on Survivor. And though that I really like. I'm okay with one or two maybe repeat puzzles if they're like the super famous puzzles, but I enjoy when they come up with new ones that are exciting for not just the viewers, but also like can't really be copied by Survivor fans. And it's truly who's the best at puzzles rather than who knows the puzzle.
Yeah, and I think especially after one Carson play the game, I think Survivor's going to take more precedence in making new puzzles, which is always going to be exciting because we're puzzle guys, a puzzle guy to a puzzle guy. We like to see
Hmm.
new ones, so I think that is very exciting. And in terms of the entire challenge, I do agree with you with the mud. I would love to see it with someone like with like a big beard. I guess like mine or like Gabler's,
Like
because you
Gabler,
get
yeah.
like I remember him doing it and like I vividly remember like the mud coming off his beard and it looks crazy. I don't think anybody on this cast has really like defining facial hair. Like a little like some small beard, some small mustaches, some good like hair, yeah, but they sometimes just tie it up anyway. So
Hmm.
I do agree with you. Maybe, the mud underneath the net maybe could save for another challenge that's not
I
as
think
monumental.
there's some cool challenges they could do with mud is one if it's like a jousting one where you had to joust into the mud. I think that could be fun.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Another one would be the one that they did. I forgot what season. I think they've done it in at least two seasons where you have to cover your body in mud and then try to get the mud into a bucket, and whoever fills
Mm,
the bucket first wins like a reward or wins immunity. Like save that for like an individual like reward challenge or something. I think that would be a lot of fun to watch. Just them get absolutely soaked in mud and have to like try to get it off all their body.
yeah, that was Kagiyan, if I recall, because I remember Wu
I
and
remember
Tony going
Tony
at
did
it.
it. I didn't remember
Yeah,
which Tony season, but yeah, I remember
I think it
Tony
was
did it in
Kagiyan,
mud.
but no, I do love that challenge. One other thing about the opening challenge that I did like, that I really like, is like you said, running into the jungle, getting the puzzle pieces, bringing it back. I like that they had to do a little bit of a run because you saw the drone. I love cinematography, so I will geek about it as much as I can.
Mhm.
Um, After someone climbs out of the mud, they were following the runner into the jungle with the drone and like doing the zigzag, kind of showing how far they have to run instead of cut. It actually shows how hard that they have to run, how far, and how close it is sometimes. So, like, I really appreciated that little touch. They've been experimenting with the drones these past couple seasons, which I want them to do more. So, if they're running a long distance, bring that puppy out. So,
Uh-huh. 100%. Yeah. And what I
do it.
think there was a missed opportunity here though, because the fact that you were running deep into the jungle to go get these puzzle pieces, I feel like they should have hidden a secret advantage somewhere. Like the
Mm,
first person to get there, it's like right there at their feet or something, and they have to like scoop it up. Or it's like attached to the back of one of the puzzle pieces or something.
that would
Like
be interesting. Yeah.
something like that, I feel like they could have implemented into this. I think they should bring that back when they used to like be on the boat and had to get all the supplies and like jump off and like try to race back to the beach or something like that. When they used to put secret advantages that people could find, I was always really excited to see who got them, and it was always a really exciting way to start the season off. I do want them to bring that back a little bit. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I think they could do that definitely. I think there's times where they went two into the jungle to get two puzzle pieces back. Sometimes I forget who it was. I think it's someone on Blue Tribe. Someone like was really ahead of their partner that was going in the jungle. Grab
Uh-huh.
the advantage then. That could have been the TV. That could have been sneaky.
Yeah.
But
I think
if I'm a player,
that might have been Kyle, I think.
it could have been. I think it was definitely someone on Blue.
Yeah,
But
it was someone in blue for
if I
sure.
was somebody in that situation looking down at an advantage with five other people about to join me, I'm just gonna, I don't see it. I would be so scared if someone saw me.
Also, in the first challenge, we had a few people actually cover their face with their buff while going into the mud. I thought that was actually pretty smart of them. I did not think of that. But yeah, like a lot of times in these challenges, which is I think one of the reasons I don't love the mud challenges that much, is because it the mud gets all over your face and in your eyes. So like you might not be able to see as well, or if you open your eyes, you might get mud in your eyes, and then you got mud all over your lips, and now you're like eating mud. So definitely smart on whoever was able to do that to just cover with their buff. And then after all of that, we had we had the yellow tribe ended up winning, so they got their supplies and they were way behind. And then the puzzle, Rachel and I think Annika were able to get it really quick. They say Rachel says it was a lot of good communication. She's selling herself short. She did this. I'm pretty sure it was all Rachel. So great job, Rachel, doing that puzzle. We had red and blue losing. They each had to select somebody to go on a journey of some sort to get their supplies. And Asia volunteers to go on the journey, which is absolutely crazy because Asia is a rap podcaster, an RHAP podcaster, and Rob always says that it's so stupid to go on the journey first. And uh, and Asia not only just gets to go by random draw, volunteers to go. I'm absolutely shocked why she would do that. Jackson, do you have any idea?
I'm still trying to think about it. There's a lot to say about being the hero of your tribe. It puts a lot of pressure on you. And if you mess up, you could get a lot of that backlash.
Hmm.
Oh, Asia said that she's gonna get the camp supplies for us, which, spoiler alert, she didn't. So there's a real opportunity that that could have sunk her game right there. So for her to kind of, be so gung ho about it and really try to get the camp supplies away, go away from the journey with the camp supplies says a lot because in the back of everyone's minds, I'm sure they're thinking, oh, there must be some sort of advantage for them to grab too. So that's what I would think. So it's really risky, and I think I would prefer the way that Blue did it, Steven.
Hmm. Yeah, I like the way that Blue did it. I did think it was interesting that Blue still chose three people who wanted to go. So the fact that three people even volunteered to be up for like the random draw, I thought was kind of interesting that not like Asia just wanted to go. Three people on Blue wanted to go, which I also thought was interesting. But the way they did it was they would either throw rock or scissors, and whichever one was the odd one out would end up going on the journey. The person who was the odd one out was TK, but he didn't even do rock or scissors. He did paper, and that wasn't even the game. I thought that was hilarious. I wish we got a confessional where it was on purpose so that he would be the odd one out, and get to go. That would be interesting if that was the case, but I really don't think it was. I think he just screwed up and thought he was playing rock, paper, scissors. I thought that was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, TK gets to go, and Asia gets to go. And I didn't, but going back to the whole like advantage thing, yeah, on a journey, there's usually advantage. So maybe I'm not using the right word for it. Maybe it's like the summit or whatever they call getting the supplies in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
They've never had an advantage for them. It's always been, do you get the tribe supplies or do you not? Um, so I think the only reason people would want to go is to be the person who wins it for their tribe or to put their tribe supplies in their own hands so they can't have someone else mess it up. But they didn't know what the challenge was going to be. And it was also only one person. If it was two people, at least you can make an alliance with this person who went with you because they're the only person you're talking to. But
Mhm.
if you're all completely alone, it could really screw you, especially if you don't get the tribe supplies for your tribe. Luckily, Asia, and we'll talk more about this soon, but luckily Asia was able to have Teeny on the tribe, who knew of her from Rob Has a Podcast and what was asked about a four-person alliance. And she was like, you know what? Before we solidify this four, let's give Asia a chance to be the fourth member of this alliance.
Yeah.
And if Teeny did not know of Asia, I think they would have solidified an alliance right then and there. So I do think that did save Asia. Without Teeny, probably Asia could have been on the outs, maybe. And also without Rome going rogue, uh, it probably would have been easier to have Rome in that alliance. So we'll talk more about that when we get to red. But yeah, the lots of alliances going on, lots of four-person alliances in on the red tribe.
Which, I mean, again, we talked about it earlier. Four is the magic number when you're down to six.
Hmm.
So it's not really surprising that that's happening. But yeah,
Right.
I think Asia definitely did get bailed out because being well known in the surviving community and having someone like Teeny on the cast definitely helped there a lot. So
Yeah.
maybe she
So
was banking on it.
yeah, exactly. So let's go tribe by tribe
Mhm.
before the immunity challenge
Let's do
and
it
just
up.
talk about the relationships that have been going on, what we're thinking about the different players on the tribes. Let's start with the blue tribe.
Okay.
So we got Sue, the oldest person on the cast, 59 years old, and she seems like she's in the best position right now, or one of the best positions on the Blue Tribe. Sue uh, wants has Gabe wanting to work with her because he feels like he's an old soul and they can pull the strings in the background. They won't be super involved in all of the chaos that the younger crew might end up being involved in. I don't really know about that, but because we've seen some older players get into some chaos in past seasons, but definitely Sue seems like someone who would definitely not be. She seems a little more grounded. I do think this alliance with Gabe is going to work out well. Um, and then with Caroline wanting to work with her, they seem like kind of like a mother-daughter type pair. Sue has said in confessional that she reminds her of her daughter. And I do think that is going to be a very tight alliance as well. So I think Sue, if she's um, taking anything from Andy, is she's got two people who will not vote for her. So it seems like Sue is in a good spot right now. And I think a lot of people do like Sue. And with her being 59 years old, I still do think she's one of the strongest women on her tribe, which is great for her.
No, I totally agree. And I think Sue is definitely on everyone's big board of front runners at the moment. Having two people wanting to come to her straight away is just such a blessing. And having to pick her allies is going to be super important for her. And especially since one of two is a little bit messier, but we'll get to that in just a second.
Hmm.
But we also see with historically that the oldest person on the cast usually does get a bit excluded, maybe a bit ostracized in previous seasons of Survivor. The new era is a bit of an outlier. We do see a bunch of the older players start to have their own and start to become a little bit more social. So
Hmm.
we kind of are seeing that outlier once again here with Sue, and I am jealous of her position. If I was playing any game, I would want to be Sue right now. I want to be everyone's best friend.
100%. And yeah, the older woman has been doing amazing. We have
Mm-hmm.
44 was Heidi, got second place. Then 45, Julie got fifth. 46, Maria, fifth. Um, so they've been doing really well. I don't really remember off the top of my head the earlier seasons. I think it was more so Gabler as the older person on
Yeah.
43, and then 41 and and then 41 Heather getting fourth place.
Yes.
42 I think might have been just been Mike Turner
Mm-hmm.
who ended up getting second place. So and Gabler winning. So like the oldest person on the season seems to be getting fifth place or better in every single season of the new era, which is absolutely crazy. Um, and I see a similar path for Sue in this game.
Yeah, we're seeing all the same ingredients, and I think she's having one of the best starts out of really a lot of people in the new era. So her and
Yeah.
somebody else on this cast, which we'll get to in a second, but
Yeah, we'll get to it.
she's definitely on my players to watch. So excited
Yeah,
to see what she does.
definitely. So then um in uh the journey, the summit, whatever you call it, where they had to compete for supplies. Asia had said to TK that said about TK that he looked like he's currently in the NFL. I thought that was really funny. And I mean, so true. Like TK does look really athletic, really built. I think he is going to be for sure making the merge unless there's a tribe swap where he's down in numbers. He is absolutely stacked on the physical department, and I think that Blue would be so stupid to get him out unless he's just the most chaotic player ever. And it seems like from episode one that he's very grounded. Everyone seems to like him, and that he is not doing anything crazy, unlike one of the other guys on the tribe who is not being as crazy as Rome, but Gabe is being a little bit wild with the idol shenanigans. Um, but yeah, TK wins the supplies for his tribe against Asia. They had to go head to head, only one of them winning the supplies. Asia was the first to finish with the three keys, but then she couldn't find her way back to the ocean. TK got to the ocean first, wins the supplies. Asia tried wrestling him and grabbing the key from him at the end when he was unlocking the key. I thought that was hilarious. Usually something like that does not happen. Jelinski, in a mental thing, was too scared to try anything, but in a physical one, Asia's trying to go for the key and pull it out of his hands. That was hilarious. I'm so happy Asia did that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give props to Asia. I would not try to wrestle that man.
Yeah,
He gets
especially
how she
TK of
cares.
all people, right?
Yeah, seriously. And with TK, yeah, it fails all the time. He's big built person who looks like he could lift a semi truck with ease. And those people tend to be a big threat when Smirch comes around because they're gonna make the merge because who's gonna vote them off when he's on your tribe? Help me win the challenges, please. But then I'll kill you down the line when we're in merge, right?
Uh-huh.
So I
Uh-huh.
am excited to see if TK can kind of break that shell, make a really strong alliance to kind of carry him onward. He has some options, especially not being Gabe, not being chaotic straight away, and obviously winning the supplies. So definitely, I mean, very excited to see where his trajectory goes,
Yeah, what do you
personally.
think about only one of them getting to get the supplies, one of them not getting it, rather than both of them having an equal chance of not getting it or getting it?
I actually prefer this.
Me too. Yeah.
I think before everyone getting the reward, like, yeah, you get a little bit more, like a bit of a challenge, a little bit more adversity. But from a viewer standpoint, I'm kind of like, okay, what's the point of the challenge then? Everyone's going to get it anyway. So I am actually really happy that they went down this route because now one tribe is definitely not going to have it. Like if you start the season like that, one tribe's going to win a challenge, and then another tribe's going to win a duel. Those two get the supplies. Meanwhile, the losers have to kind of fight for the first immunity challenge and have a couple of days without the fire, have a couple of days without the machete and bowl or whatever else they get. Nothing much. So I think I do prefer this
Mhm.
format.
I also think it's interesting, and we'll get to the immunity challenge soon, but
Mhm.
the tribe that did not get the supplies was red, and
Mhm.
that is the tribe that absolutely dominated the immunity challenge. And usually we see the tribe that is struggling with supplies the first few days be the one that struggles in the immunity challenge. So this was definitely um, unexpected compared to past New Era seasons, which I enjoy that it seems like it's more of an even playing field. It could just be red is really good at challenges,
Mhm.
or maybe blue and yellow were just had an awful strategy in this challenge with both boats flipping over. That was so bad. First
I
blue and then immediately 5 seconds later yellow.
I don't know what they were thinking. I think it was Yellow that like kicked off of their boats to get to the treasure chest
Uh-huh.
platforms, pushing the boat away, and they have to like fight against the momentum, only for them to flip anyway.
Yeah.
You guys have to think. And then it's a very wobbly canoe. And if you've been on a canoe before, Steven, those things are very peculiar with how they balance. And
Hmm.
they were clearly not thinking about it. Blue, I think, had like four people like leaning one side when they were tipping. And it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get
Yeah.
to the challenge with more specifics later, but it was a bunch of what are you doing?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, so let's get to the chaotic blue member. So definitely not the most chaotic out of the three tribes, but there was one guy on every tribe who was chaotic this episode. The least of the least chaotic of the three, Gabe. We have him finding the beware advantage, and when he goes to get the key, TK comes over and sees him grabbing the key, and he lies to him saying that, oh, they must have found the key before the beware advantage. This has never happened before. What do we do? Um, I I guess I don't know. I like this lie and I don't at the same time. I feel like it's pretty obvious that it was so high up there on the mountain that no one was actually looking up at that. Like that had to have been some sort of clue from a beware advantage. So I I personally am leaning more toward this was really stupid, and if you were tight with TK, you should have just said, "Hey, like I found the beware advantage. This was the next step. I was gonna go tell you, but I haven't seen you since I got the beware advantage." Something like that. They could have built trust. And now TK is suspecting that it was a lie, and TK is like, "Well, if Gabe just lied to me about this and did not feel comfortable telling me. Maybe we don't have as good of a relationship as we thought. And now this could possibly go from TK having a super strong relationship with Gabe and not wanting to vote him out to now, if Gabe's name goes around, he might not defend him. He might not
Oh,
say, "Hey, let's vote out Gabe," but if he hears Gabe's name, he'll be fine jumping on board.
I do not like this lie. I do appreciate the fact that maybe like, oh, I somebody found this part, this key, but nobody found the beware advantage. Maybe there's a beware advantage around. Like, hey, it's creative. I don't think we see anything like this. Like, oh, I stumbled upon the next part of the beware advantage by accident. We don't see that. I wonder why. Because it was high up in the cliff. Maybe because you have to really be out of your way in the first place to really find it. And at that point, I knew game was cooked.
Uh-huh.
And with the decision to lie to TK, he caught you red-handed. He knows it. You know it. The audience knows it. The cameraman knows it. And kind of waffling that lie right in his face is just really unnecessary because now it leads to chance. Oh, TK definitely believes my lie. Oh, what if he doesn't believe my lie? Just tell him the truth. Now you know he knows you. Now that you know that he knows that you have something,
Uh-huh.
and you gotta build a relationship with that. Leave nothing to chance. He caught
Right.
you. If it bites you in the butt, it bites you in the butt. You shouldn't have been caught finding it.
Here's another thing with the fact that now they found this key together. What if TK goes like, "Oh, like, do you still have the key on you? Let's go look for this beware advantage." You don't have the key anymore because you just used it to open up the box and you probably just left it there. I doubt you like took all of the keys together and decided to put it in your bag. So
Hmm.
now what are you going to tell TK? Like, "Oh, I lost the key." Or I don't want to show you the key anymore. Like it's definitely it didn't show TK's reaction to the aftermath of this in
Hmm.
this episode, but I feel like it could bite him in the ass in a future episode, maybe next episode, to be honest, um, where TK tries to figure out this beware advantage with him, and it's already been figured out, and he's either gonna have to tell him that he has a three tribal idol or lie to him again, and TK's definitely gonna know that it was a lie. I feel like
Exactly.
I feel like Gabe is not the best at lying. So that could hurt him in this game for sure.
For
Um,
sure.
I think he's good at I don't think he's good at lying, but I think he's good at keeping his cards close to his chest, which I think could be good for the whole Sue Gabe relationship, but not good for the whole Gabe TK relationship.
I think for TK, you have to show him your cards. He saw your cards. That's the problem. He saw that you're holding some kind of cards in your hand that's sneaky and that could hurt TK. So you kind of have to come clean at this point. So I'm
Yeah,
really hoping for Gabe's sake that he does do that with TK. Maybe with Sue. Who knows? Maybe that's a three-person alliance in the making. That'd be
maybe.
crazy, but
Yeah, but yeah, with Sue, Gabe ends up telling Sue though, instead of just telling TK when he was caught red-handed, decides to not lie and then later tell Sue about the advantage. I thought this was actually a really Uh, I honestly I'm so anti telling anyone about any advantage, but if you're gonna tell someone, it's smart to tell your closest ally to gain even more trust because you need someone who's gonna be a number one. Like you could have a close ally, but you want someone who will literally like cry all day long, knowing that later in the day they might have to vote you out. Like
yeah.
if you have someone that close to you in this game that is very powerful, and that will get you very far. So I think it is smart that Gabe, if you're going to tell anyone, to tell Sue because that's who you truly want to be loyal to this whole game. But I don't think he should have told anybody, especially if he lied to TK about it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he tells Sue. Now Sue knows about it. Then he finds this idol, and it's only good for only one tribal council. But you can risk your vote again and put the idol in the little hole to the next box, and then try to open the next box, which has another clue to where the key is for an idol that is only good for three tribal councils. He's able to do this. He had I think in the morning he had to get dry wood and just a huge piece of dry wood and like hit it against the other wood over and over again to keep cracking it open. I felt like that must have been so loud. I can't believe people didn't hear that. Um,
I
People
wonder
must
where it
have heard a little
was.
bit.
Yeah, I wonder where that was on the island compared to
Yeah.
the shelter.
But
Probably too
based on
close.
the way production was showing it, it seemed pretty close to the shelter, but I don't, it probably wasn't. It was probably way down the beach or something.
Yeah.
But he's able to get the key. He's able to open it up, and he also, I think before this, the day before this happened, he tried to hide the box like at the top of the mountain and dropped the box, and the box went crashing down and made a huge loud noise, and everybody back at camp heard it and was like, what's going on? Like, what is he doing up by the mountain? Why is there even this loud crash?" And it didn't show on the episode what he said when he went back to camp, but I'm curious what he told his tribe because I feel like whatever he says, it's going to be very sketchy.
100%. And you know what the worst part about this is, Steven? He's
What?
not the worst person on this cast to sell him not finding an idol. On the Red Tribe, we're gonna talk about Rome in just a second. It was 20 times worse.
Yeah.
A game got caught.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I'm
Yeah.
ready to talk about Red right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. With the whole and then with the idol, he could have done the same thing again, risking his vote again for now instead of a tribal idol, he could get one until the final five. Now, yes, getting the three tribal idol was tough for him. He almost got caught. But a three tribal idol compared to one all the way to the final five. If you're confident in your relationships with the people you've made on your tribe, well, you've already made a good one with Sue. He thinks he has, I still think he does have TK, but it definitely was a little suspect. But if he thinks he still has TK as an ally, he thinks he has Sue, he thinks he's at least got a decent relationship, maybe not strategic, but a decent social relationship with everyone else on his tribe. He probably has a decent one with Kyle because they had this little like bromance thing going in the water that I think Caroline maybe was pointing out or Tawana. I don't remember, but I think he seems in a pretty good spot right now, and this might not be targeted as of right now. So I think he should have went for the final five idol. I think it could put a target on his back if he uses the idol within the first three tribal councils, because then that could already make him a threat if he uses it correctly. On maybe someone else or something, or even if he was targeted early on and he uses it, obviously it's good to save yourself, but now you're even more going to be a target. Um, or you don't use it at all and it was a complete waste when you could have maybe needed it a few rounds later, and if you had the idle till the final five you could have used it. So I think the risk would have been better than I think the reward would have been better than the risk, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I don't know why he stopped at the three tribe idol. What do you think? What would you have done in that situation if you got to the three tribal idol? Would you go for it again and risk it, or would you keep it?
I think it's tricky because I want to know if he got caught. I want to know if he thinks he got caught. Because there could have, with the way that it was edited, there's a chance that Gabe thinks he's being sneaky, I think. I'm not sure if he's said that he got caught or whatnot, but if he knows that he got caught, absolutely, I agree with you. The risk is already out the window. Just go for the reward. But if you're trying to be a little more sneaky, oh, no one's going to suspect me. I understand going for just a three-person tribe idol. But at the same time, like if you're also holding on to a whole idol that goes into the final five, you just got to think back to last season. Everyone going out with the idol in their pockets. Obviously, I'm not sure if these castaways saw previous season and saw all
Oh,
this,
they
but
did. They saw 46, yeah.
then went to film 47.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they saw I think the first half or first like two-thirds of the season.
Okay. So
They
I'm
they
wondering if
definitely saw at least two people go home with idols.
that's still probably fresh in their minds. So maybe
Yeah.
Gabe was thinking like the less thinking I have to do, the better. First three tribal councils as opposed to the next whatever, eight, nine, whatever, how many tribal councils he's got left in him. It's a lot less thinking if to do for three. So maybe it's a little bit of that. Maybe it doesn't last that long. I get it, but I honestly probably would go for three tribals, because
Yeah.
then it's out of your pocket. Hey guys, I played it. You know, I got nothing now. Fresh game. Let's talk.
Yeah.
There's an air
I
about that.
I think I think it definitely would have been a tough clue to get that idol. I think it would they probably would have made it even harder to get because it's more it has more power. But I do think it was only one more key they needed to get. And even though, yes, you probably would have had to be sneaky to go get it, it's just one. And it's almost like having a clue to a hidden immunity idol, and you just need to go look for it. Like that's
Yes.
pretty much how much was left to do to get this extra little bit for this idol. So if I was playing, I definitely would have went for the full on idol. Um, but yeah, there we could be missing something in the edit, and maybe Gabe feels like everyone realizes he's being sneaky and wants to just chill out. If that was the case, I totally understand that. But if he doesn't think that he's been getting caught by anybody, I think it was a silly move in that case
Hmm.
if he thought that.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go over to the Red Tribe. We've been wanting to talk about them. We'll talk about the top two players on this tribe, Rome and Teeny. So we have Teeny, everyone loves Teeny. Teeny is in every single alliance. Everybody wants to work with her. We have Rome and Genevieve want to work together. We have Keyshawn and Teeny want to work together. Genevieve and Teeny want to work together. And Genevieve wants to make this four-person majority alliance with Keyshawn, Rome, and Teeny and her. But Teeny wants to give Asia a chance to earn that fourth spot instead of Rome. So Keyshawn is definitely in the alliance with her. She's sticking with that duo, and I think that is going to be a lethal pair in this game, Keyshawn and Teeny. Um, and yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier, how Teeny recognizes Asia from RHAP and wanted to work with her. It seems like, is it Sol or Sol? I think it's Sol, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Solid. Yes,
Saul
solid.
doesn't have really any tight alliances. So it seems like him not being in a majority alliance could put him at the bottom very early on. However, he is by far, even more than TK, I think, in terms of muscle, the biggest person on this season, on this tribe. And so I think in terms of pure strength, you want to keep him around unless he's like causing a lot of chaos, like maybe a Sifu. Um,
Hmm.
then I understand getting rid of this big, strong force. But I don't think if Saul just has decent relationships with people, I don't necessarily see him being the first one out. That's why I am a little bit nervous for Rome. Um, but we will see because he is going to have at least an idol for one tribal council. So we'll see how that all plays out with their first tribal. I know their first tribal is going to be insane. Um, but when Asia comes back, Teeny tells her that she knows her from the podcast, and Asia thinks that's a little scary that she knows who she is. She does get genuine vibes from Teeny, but still wants to work with her really closely. But Teeny is someone that she doesn't want to be blindsided by the good vibes that she's getting from her. Um, and so this is something that I think will honestly bond Teeny and Asia in the beginning of the game, but I do think that at a point, Asia I think will want to try to turn on Teeny. Um, I think Asia will be like, oh well, if you know who I am, you're probably a really big Survivor fan as well. And the fact that you know who I am, you know that I'm really know this game very well, so you could possibly use that against me because it seems like on this tribe, you're the only person who knows who I am. So I do think that short term, they'll be a close allies, but I think one of them will turn on the other earlier than maybe they would have liked to.
Right.
Um, I could see Teeny possibly turning on Asia too, because Asia is someone who knows so much about Survivor. Um, but for some reason, I'm thinking Asia's going to want to turn on Teeny first. I feel like Teeny is going to find out about this and then get Asia out before Teeny goes home. That's what I'm thinking. I think Asia's going to try to take the first shot and miss, but we'll see how that ends up playing out.
I do tend to agree with you. I think this will be some kind of silent tension between the two. They will start off as allies. I think they are going to start off as allies, but I think once we see the season progress a little bit, we kind of realize that there is an underlying layer of tension between the two of them, kind of like a Cold War starting between them. They're trying to get the allies to try to take each other out. But when it's the right time, we'll wait another week. We'll wait another week. Oh, I got blindsided. That's my prediction for that, and I'm kind of here for it, to be honest,
Hmm.
because I think these two are gonna be one of the bigger personalities, barring Rome, in the tribe. So I kind of am excited to see how that storyline is gonna play out. And with Saul, he is the muscle of the Red Tribe, but we didn't get too much, right? And with people like Tini, with people like Keyshawn and Genevieve, this is a very social tribe. 5 out of 6 of these people are very sociable. And Saul is kind of like the sixth person out, the sixth wheel, right? Does that mean he's the automatic target? Or are the social people gonna fire a shot at somebody else? Like you said, Rome has an idol. Maybe all the votes are gonna go on Rome and he's gonna throw a vote on Keyshawn or Genevieve or Asia or even Tini.
I feel
So,
like Asia would be the one to get screwed over. I think it's going to be Rome versus Asia
oh,
at the next vote.
okay.
Um, because I know Asia is definitely going to gun for Rome. So if Rome finds this out, let's say Genevieve is told by this plan by Asia, and Genevieve is like, "Well, Rome's my number one. I have to go tell Rome." And now it could be this whole Rome versus Asia type thing. Yeah, we'll see. But I do think that Teeny, and we'll talk about this extremely shortly, but I
Mhm.
think Teeny and Keyshawn are the only people in the tribe that I can say with 99% confidence is not going to be the first boot of their tribe. They're in every single alliance. I think there's like how many? One, two. I think there's at least three, maybe four-person alliances, and they are all both of them are in every single one, and it's just different combinations of people within those other four people, pairing with them to make a four-person alliance. So I think they are covered. They're the middle.
Yeah.
We see this at least. There's always at least one tribe where there's two versus two, and then there's two in the middle, and that's this tribe. We have Rome and Genevieve on one side, we have Asia and Saul on the other, and we have Keyshawn and Teeny in the middle. And that's how I think the first vote is going to play out if they do go to tribal. Um,
I do agree with you. I think this will be the most explosive tribe to go to tribal right now.
mhm.
I think blue has potential, but red is here. Red is cooked, is ready, and I'm kind of hoping that they go to tribal episode 2. But
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
definitely something to see.
based on the scenes from the next episode, um, and we'll get to that at the very end. I am predicting blue goes to tribal,
Okay,
but we'll see.
we shall see.
Um, but that's my prediction that blue will be the one going to tribal. With red, let's get to Mr. Chaos or Mr. Gamer, as Asia calls him. Rome finds the beware advantage, decides to wait to dig up the box until nighttime, but
Okay.
everyone noticed that he was gone for a while, so everyone already knew he was looking for an idol super early on in the game. I don't think it affected him that much though, because some people did have good relationships with Rome at the time, but that just kept going downhill the more he acted super suspect. Um, In the morning, he goes to pour the water on the driftwood. Asia catches him looking and says, "Hey, Mr. Gamer." So that's one that's not good. I think Rome should right then and there, if you are hearing someone call you Mr. Gamer, they probably don't mean it in a good sense. So I think that is a reason Rome should target Asia just because of that. But in his confessional, he did not seem very he thought he got away with more than he actually did. He was like, "Oh, someone saw me looking, but I don't think they saw much." Like, no, they saw that you were up to no good and called you Mr. Gamer. So definitely not a good look for Rome. And then dives headfirst into the water well to get the key. A bunch of them walk up to the water well, see him, and then he, drenched in water, just starts walking the other way. Doesn't even say hi. Super suspect. I
I
mean, it was
was
the right move
embarrassed.
to go walk away because they would ask, "Why are you soaked in water?" But it was so suspect.
It was so suspect. What? I think I would have froze personally. Like I think we criticizing Rome a little bit here. I would have froze. I would have been the I don't know what I would have said. I probably would have said less than Rome, and he didn't say anything at all somehow. And like I kind of understand why Rome did it. Like you said, like run away. They won't ask you questions, but that just makes things worse. I I was so watching this. I was like ridiculously over the top embarrassed. Like I was like I saw it all happening. I saw them walking up to the water well. I saw Rome like head first in. I was like, I was doing this. This was me in real time watching that scene. Like I couldn't handle it. Like embarrassment, like watching embarrassment on TV is like one of the worst things for me because I like turn red. I like cover myself. I close my eyes, or sometimes I pause it, take a second, play. That was one of those embarrassing moments. I was like, oh, I felt so bad for Rome, but it was funny in a way. But
Yeah, I do think though, I think if you were not soaked head to toe, then you should stick around and answer their questions and come up with a lie of some sort. But the fact that his entire like top half was soaked in water, I think the best move is to try to get out of there as quickly as possible and hope they do not see you because you don't really have much to explain. Maybe I guess you could be like, I was super hot, so I got a scoop of water and poured it on myself. That's what I would have came up with in the moment if I stayed, but
you know what I would have done? Because
what?
I'm a person that would have probably wanted to get a laugh out of people, kind of expecting to get caught. I would kind of put my water canister or water, whatever, put it in the well and go get the water canister as I'm reaching for the key. That way, if I get caught, I could be like, guys, filling up my water, accidentally dropped it. You didn't see anything while like trying to stuff my key in my pocket. That's what I would have probably come up with.
Well,
I do
if
agree
it
with you though.
sinks, if it floats, it was close enough where you could have just reached your hand down.
Well, maybe like the strap, maybe just like you know how like the
Yeah,
bottles have a strap. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten the strap. I had to pick it up by the bottle, not the
right,
strap or something
right,
like
right.
that.
Or you were like trying to reach over and then you just like tripped and like fell in.
That's two suspects. Too embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
But no, there's a lot of ways he could have played that off the correct way, and he decided to choose none of
Yep.
them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and the four people who were there who saw him walk away was um it was Seoul, Asia, Teeny, and Keyshawn. And they said that they want, or Asia said that she wants Rome out next, and and said to the group of four that as long as the four stays strong, we should be good. So the fact that they're talking about the four and there's four people right there, maybe they made an alliance that we weren't aware of, that we did not see on um, the actual episode itself getting
That's a good
formed.
point. That's a good point.
So if that is the case, then maybe Seoul does have potential to be in a majority alliance if they go after Rome and Genevieve instead as a duo because Rome is chaotic and I do think it'll be tough to get Rome out if he does have an idol and if he does suspect that he's going home. But could it be another season 46 where we get him to go home with an idol in his pocket? Or does he play the idol correctly and then the whole plan to get him out is kind of screwed and maybe Asia should not do that and be safer and try to get maybe Genevieve out? Um,
All the
and
reasons
so yeah.
why a tribal council with the red tribe is gonna be
Oh
chef's
yeah,
kiss.
I need Red to go to tribal. I also think it would be interesting um if Rome gets the one tribal idol and then goes for it again and gets the three tribal idol and maybe even goes again and gets the full one. Because
Mm,
if he gets one that where he doesn't need to play it at his first tribal, then that could possibly result in a blindside on him. If he has it for only one tribal, he's playing it on himself, and Asia's screwed.
yeah,
So I definitely think it would make it more exciting in terms of what is Rome going to do if he gets a three tribal idol or more than that. But if he gets a one tribal idol, we know he's going to be safe. I don't think anybody's going to necessarily know that he has a one tribal idol, so that could even cause even more chaos. Um, So yeah, I really want them to go to tribal so bad. That would be
so
great
bad.
because we know Teeny's going to be safe, and as long as Teeny's safe, I'm happy. So let's cause some chaos. Um, and let's hop over to our tribe of the episode, the Yellow Tribe. So we got Andy and John seem to be getting along really well. We talked about how Andy was a numbers guy, which I loved. And how he needs two people to not write his name down for him not to be voted out. But yeah, like we talked about, it's kind of better to have three. It's better to have a majority four, or not even a majority four, but just have three allies that could maybe not be majority for you, but would not write your name down so that if it was a split vote, it wouldn't be split between you.
Yeah,
So that definitely made my alarm bells go off like, oh, maybe Andy is going to be the first boot. It didn't end up happening, which absolutely shocked me. I definitely did not watch all of the episode the first time because at the watch party I was talking to people during the episode and it was really loud in there. So I didn't really get to see all of it, but I was so beyond shocked that it was John to go home after watching Andy's meltdown at the challenge. Um, so yeah, I was very
it
confused.
was almost poetry watching the meltdown from the challenge by Andy immediately get flipped on its head when was talking about tribe strength. And it's like Andy kind of does bring something to the tribe, and we'll get to it soon. But in
Mhm.
my head, I was thinking Andy also passed out during the challenge. Maybe because he was trying his best. That could be it. And maybe John didn't try hard enough. But he passed out.
He
I'm
did
in that
pass
boat.
out. He was I think it was heat exhaustion, right? That's what he said
Heat
it was.
exhaustion,
Heat
yeah.
exhaustion from trying so hard in the challenge. It did seem like he did try very hard, yes. But at the same time, he wasn't working on the puzzle. He's seems like the strongest, other than Sam, the strongest person on the tribe. Um, and he passed out. And yeah, like you said, maybe John wasn't trying his 100% hardest, but I feel like everyone was trying pretty damn hard. And for Andy to be the one who like passed out from heat exhaustion pretty much. Um, I wouldn't necessarily consider that the stronger person on the tribe. Physically stronger, but I don't think it was enough to make them want to vote out someone as chaotic as Andy. I'm happy for it because I do like Andy as a person and as a character, but I know he's not going to win this game. And it would have been interesting to see some of John's confessionals because I know he would have been a good storyteller, but at the same time, I didn't really care about John being on the cast. Like I don't really watch his podcast, so like I know Andy is friends with a lot of my friends, so I more so was rooting for Andy, and he was my guy winner pick
Okay.
going into the season. Um, but he wasn't my overall winner pick. My overall winner pick is a girl on the Yellow Tribe, actually, that we're talking about right now. The girl who is able to make the fire for the Yellow Tribe. My winner pick is Sierra.
Oh, okay.
I think she is a lower key player, someone who I think can make good relationships with people. Maybe not good enough to be targeted as this crazy social threat, but good enough to where she wouldn't be targeted. I think she would be able to play the middle, like a target level middle very well, like not being like an easy target for everyone to go after, but also not being this like goat type person. I could see somewhere in the middle, and then as long as you're up against the right people at the final three, I think she can win. But it's only episode one. We'll see how it shakes up. I told a lot of people that Sierra was my winner pick, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I thought she was going to be the first boot. So I don't know what that says, but I did also did like limited, super limited research. So maybe I'm missing something, but I don't know. It seems like she's in a good spot in her tribe right now. Um, yeah, what do you think about my winner pick, and what's your winner pick right now?
So starting with Sierra, I didn't do too much research into the cast beforehand myself. This season I used to do a lot of research before the season would start and kind of know everyone's names before they even show up on my screen. This time I did take a bit of a blind perspective approach, kind of just boom, I'm just going to see the episodes and maybe I'll do backwards research after the episode. Maybe I'll check out the pre-season stuff and see what they say. But Sierra struck me as someone who is definitely low key, but someone who's also in the right side of the vote, obviously, and but also in the right side of the numbers. So if Yellow was to go back to tribal again, I don't think Sierra's going to get another vote. I don't think it's going to be her on the chopping block because obviously Annika got the vote from John this episode. Andy is Andy. Sam is a bit of a polarizing character. I think he would actually might stick out a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I think he's trying to be like an alpha type character with that four-person alliance. I feel like I'm not sure
Mhm.
why, but his confessionals kind of rub me that
I
way.
I
And
think
Rachel with
the
Andy, I think
yeah,
she's in a good spot.
I think Sam is going to be someone who they need on the tribe for strength, and I think is getting along well with the girls on his tribe. Um, I do see him as maybe a second, third, or fourth merge boot, um, because not only is he a strong competitor, but I do think that if people want to maybe think of him as a good player, a good social player, possibly in a big alliance of some sort, then he might be one of the first people that they would want to target from that group. He strikes me as like a Dan from 37. Um,
Oh, okay.
so I could see him being kind of like that, where he's not necessarily a first or second merge boot target, but he's definitely one of the earlier targets in the merge because he's in such a powerful position. Um,
And I think they give him a lot of screen time, so I think he is kind of being built up like not the final boss, but a boss that someone needs to topple. So I kind
Yeah.
of do see
And
that.
I,
I
I
see
think
your
he has a
point.
good relationship with Sierra also. I think that's going
Yep,
to be a duo in the game. I
yep.
think who are the other girls? Rachel and
Rachel.
Annika,
Yep.
I could see them being a little bit of a duo. Not as close, not like a legit duo in the game, but I could see them being each other's closer allies on the tribe. So like you can kind of group them together. And then and then there's Andy, who has Rachel in his back pocket, kind of like, well, I guess Rachel has Andy in her back pocket, not the other way around. But I do think that Rachel could. I don't think it will happen because of how annoyed Rachel is at Andy, but there definitely is potential for Rachel to be the Caleb to Andy's Emily Flippin. But I don't
Good
think it's going to go
potential.
down like that.
I think it depends on how Rachel wants to play it. Maybe I think what needs to happen is they need to not go to tribal council next round.
Hmm.
There needs to be a little bit of time and a little bit of ease for Andy to kind of settle into relationships. Maybe have a second chance with Rachel. Sounds like a relationship. Can I have a second chance, Rachel, please? And maybe that's exactly what she needs to hear. Maybe she needs to kind of look at it differently herself. Maybe she realize that, oh, Sam and Sierra are really close. Pull Andy in, blindside one of these two. All of a sudden, everybody wants to talk to me. So there is a lot of power kind of surrounding Rachel at the moment. It just kind of depends on what she wants to do. If she
Yeah,
picks
I think
correct,
Rachel is
pick
for
it,
sure in
works.
a very big power position right now in her tribe. I did suspect that going into the season. I felt like Rachel was going to be a very good strategic player, a very good social player. I did think she would do very well. Um, I am actually a little surprised that I didn't make her one of my top winner picks. I'd say if I had to give like a top six, she would have been on my top six.
Okay.
But yeah, like not one of my tippy top because I feel like she will be a threat. But there have been threats that have been threats for a very big portion of the game, but just had good enough social relationships where they were still able to make it to the end. Big example of that is D. D, I feel like everyone thought was a threat ever since the start of the merge, but still ended up making it to the end. So will she be a D in terms of that sense, or will she be just like a Tiffany? Who is like an obvious threat, but eventually gets voted out kind of early-ish, mid-ish merge. I lean more towards that happening for Rachel than a D type performance where she makes it to the end. I see more of a Tiffany getting out final eight around, but but we'll see. Uh, and so Annika taking the leadership role, which taking the leadership role is always a terrible idea in Survivor. It almost always backfires on the person, and I don't like this for Annika. I do think that if Andy is able to somehow bounce back, Annika might be the next one to go. I don't think it's going to be Sam. I doubt it's going to be Sierra. I could maybe, but I don't think it's Sierra. I don't think it's Rachel. I don't think it's Sam. So it's either Annika or Andy, and I could totally see it being Annika, especially if she continues this leadership role and it annoys maybe the others. If they think
Yeah.
they can take Andy under their wing, maybe Andy can stay. If they need tribe strength, especially if they lose again. If they lose again, I think Annika could be on the chopping block. I do think if they lose more towards the merge, I could see Andy being a sacrifice.
I think there is a reason why John and Andy originally settled on Annika for being like the name that they want to throw out. Obviously, Annika wasn't voted out, but I think John and Andy were kind of rubbed the wrong way with her taking charge. And she even said it herself. She didn't want to take charge, but she's a marketing manager. I can't help it. Help
Yeah,
it.
you can help it. You absolutely can help it, especially when you're on a show for $1 million. If you were playing an LRG that was only for a little bit of money and you were just there having fun, sure, take the leadership role, go for it. But you can definitely hold back in a game for $1 million. Or you could try your best. Maybe you can't hold back completely, but
Mhm.
just bits and pieces. Like you don't have to be the obvious leader. And that's what it seemed like she was, so much to the point where she said it in a confessional that she couldn't help it. If she didn't say it in a confessional, maybe she would have been like, "Oh, I'm not actually leading. I'm just giving some instruction to some people." But she knew she was leading. She said it in her confessionals, and that's when you should know not to do that.
She's lucky Andy had what Andy had during the challenge.
Hmm.
Otherwise, her position would have been a lot worse, I think,
Yeah,
because
I still think John goes home, but I do think it would have been less of a discussion of John versus Andy and more of a discussion of Annika or John.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
And then before we get to the immunity challenge, let's talk about the pre-blow up. pretty much what caused this blow up to happen. Andy cut open a coconut and nobody cheered. And then John cuts open a coconut and everybody is so ecstatic, so
Yeah.
happy. Let's go, John. Woo! And Andy is like, oh wow, they didn't cheer for me. I'm on the bottom.
Listen, man, any little slight, any little thing could be used as ammunition. Oh, they're cheering for John because they like him more than me, or they want to work with him but not work with me. So he was so wrapped up into the game. He was so paranoid, so sleep deprived, and
Mhm.
maybe dehydrated, maybe a little malnourished, I guess. Maybe also played a part in it.
Yeah, I
It,
do want to say that the way I we saw the footage, and he peeled open the coconut with his hands. John Machete kept swinging it and like two hits in cuts it perfectly through. I would cheer for that too. I would not be
seriously.
cheering for, oh, I did this. If I slammed it twice and cut it open almost perfectly, I would understand getting cheers. So I think
Oh,
that that's all it was, and because we found out John got voted out even after this crazy blow up. So I don't think Andy was on the bottom. I do think he was not in the majority, but I don't think he was going home if they went to tribal because he didn't end up going home. So I think he took that a little too much to heart. I think he really hard like he did mention it in a confessional, and they probably just thought it was funny. And he mentioned it on the mat too after the challenge. So obviously the coconut thing did bother him. I don't think that was the main reason why he thought he was on the bottom,
no,
but
it's a supporting
it was definitely a
evidence.
supporting reason why he thought he was
Yeah.
on the bottom. Um, which brings us to the immunity challenge where we talked about this. Red destroyed the other two tribes. Blue and yellow flipped their boats, and now yellow is going to tribal council. Andy passes out, well, not completely, but lays down and needs medical. He said he was overheated. I personally think, and I could be completely wrong. This is just from what I was observing and the way how he ended up going to the side and eventually laying down and the stuff he was saying to Jeff instead of saying how he was feeling physically, he was talking about how he was feeling mentally. I don't think he was actually overheating. I
Hmm.
think he pretended like he was overheating so it didn't look more pathetic than it actually was. I think he was thinking in his mind, oh wow, our tribe is so bad on the puzzle right now. We're about to lose this immunity challenge. I'm on the bottom. I'm about to be the first one voted out of Survivor, and a lot of big Survivor fans dread being the first one out of Survivor. It's one of the scariest things. So I think he was just thinking in his mind, I'm about to be the first one voted out of Survivor. It's going to be so embarrassing. And I think that's what took over his body. I don't think it was the overheating. I think he just got it really anxious, and that's why he laid down.
Hmm.
I could be wrong, but I don't think it was overheating at all.
That is a really interesting theory because you don't see Jeff stop the challenge. So it wasn't a serious issue. Maybe he just needed a minute, maybe needed to cool off a
Mhm.
little bit, is what I was thinking. But that's an interesting, I never thought about that because, yeah, his body definitely, he walked over and lay down. He didn't flop down, right? He lay down under his own power. And, maybe it was a little like panting a little bit, but. That I could be taken as an
Mhm.
anxiety attack. That's
Yeah,
that's a
yeah, because I
strong
mean,
point.
if you look at the footage, he was standing there watching the puzzle, just
Mhm.
breathing heavy, but like just standing there normally with like everyone else. And then he
Yeah.
slowly walked over to the side. Didn't seem like he was breathing heavy. He seemed like completely normal. And then he sits down. It still doesn't look like he's breathing heavy. Even when Jeff comes over to him, he's not breathing heavy. Um, yeah, so. That's my theory. That's my conspiracy theory. I don't know if I'm right. I probably am not, but I definitely think it has a good chance of possibly being true. Um, and then we get to the blow up where in front of Jeff. in front of his tribe, in front of all of the tribes, which is the craziest part about this. In front of all the other tribes, he says that he feels he's on the bottom. He was upset about the whole coconut thing that and said how John got cheered for and he didn't. He said that his tribe doesn't like him and that while the puzzle was being made, while he was standing there watching them about to lose, he was thinking in his mind that, damn, my best friend in this game is John, and I'm gonna have to throw him under the bus to stay. That is crazy to say in front of your tribe, in front of John, and now all the other tribes are listening like, oh my God, did he just say he's about to throw his best friend under the bus? Because now if he survives, oh, so now you're willing to throw your number one ally under the bus this early on in the game?
And it worked.
And it worked. And he's willing to say this out loud, like no other tribe is going to want to work with somebody like that. Like at least Emily Flippin, they didn't know how bad she was, so then they were able to make their own opinion. Like all they did was it was all hearsay from like
Mhm.
people on the journeys. But at least once they saw in person, they were able to make a good relationship with Emily. They are now able to truly see how bad of an ally Andy could be. And so that's definitely going to hurt him in the long run.
This is gonna be one of those moments people are gonna talk about. I hope, because this is something truly unique for the season. I can't think of a public blowout besides from Brandon Hans. And well, Brandon Hans was
Yeah.
his own little beast.
Yeah.
This is completely different. He was not being violent. He was being pretty under control. He's pretty under control while being out of control. So, and I want to be a fly on the wall for these two tribes to hear what their immediate reaction is to Andy. Because if I was on the yellow tribe, I would be flipping shit. I would be pissed off. I would be turning red. I would be boiling. Why are you giving away our secrets? Why are you giving away your opinions to the entire tribe without talking to us first? Why are you throwing John underneath the bus? I couldn't even think about what John's imagining in that moment. He's probably feeling a
Yeah.
little bit melancholy, probably a
It
little
was
sad,
pretty
probably a little
funny
mad.
how he said like that he was preparing for his trip underneath the bus. Like he said something around that was very funny. Um and that's the kind of joke I would have made if that happened to me. Like make a joke about it, get your tribe to laugh so that they're like on your side about the whole thing.
Make a face like,
I feel like John did. I mean, we'll talk about the strategy in a quick second, but I feel like John did a great job in this episode. I I I'm s- I it's just, I think it was just that he was the older guy, didn't connect with people as much as the others connected with each other. Um, I don't think he did anything wrong in his strategy. I think he just had the s- worst connections with people mixed with the least tribe strength.
yeah, and we'll definitely talk about it.
I think that's kind of like a Mariah in 44
Three,
or
three.
43. Yeah, Gabler's tribe. Yeah, Mariah. Like she didn't no, I don't think she did anything wrong. She was a very likable person. I think if they had more than one tribal, she probably could have entered an alliance. Probably people would have wanted to work with her, but because it was so early on in the game, she was one of the weaker people on the tribe and didn't solidify any strong alliances, so they voted
Hmm.
her out. I think it's a very similar type of first boot here.
I don't even think Mariah was one of the weakest persons on the tribe, to be fair. But
I
obviously
think I
that's
definitely one of
43,
the
but
weaker ones, maybe bottom half weak. But
even that, it's not that
because
it's not that
Owen, I feel
episode,
like Owen
but
was strong, Sammy was strong, Ellie was strong.
they
So
are also
it was really Janine, Gabler, and Mariah, and Gabler had an idol. So it was really between Janine and Mariah, and Janine had better relationships. That really is what it came down to.
fair enough.
But yeah, let's not talk about 43. Let's talk about 47. Uh, Tribal strategy. When they went back to camp, it seemed it was going to be between Andy, John, and Annika. John wants to target Annika since he thinks he can still work with Andy. The girls wanted to use John as a decoy vote, and he was not a fan of that. I feel like he would have went after Andy if that wasn't the case, but the fact that they wanted to throw John under the bus to Andy, which if I was John, that would make perfect sense to me because Andy did just say he wanted to throw John under the bus. So it would make the most sense to make Andy think he is not going to be the true target. So I don't think John should have gotten that upset about that, but he did, and he didn't want to be the decoy vote, and he was nervous if I'm the decoy vote, maybe I'm the real vote because sometimes the decoy, if you think somebody could say they're the decoy vote, but they could also be telling the other person that they're the decoy vote for John, like and Andy's the decoy vote for John. So
Decoys go home, man.
yeah, it's kind of like it's like the Survivor, it's like the Big Brother pawns go home type scenario in Survivor. Decoys go home.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so then Andy also seems to want to target Annika, but also said how he wanted to throw John under the bus. So I think he would be okay with John as long as it saves him. Annika seems to want Andy out. Rachel seems to want John out, but is scared to keep Andy in the game because he might blow up again. But at least he's the most loyal to Rachel out of her and out of him and
John.
John. So at least that'll help her out, have another ally in the game, not gonna write her name down. Um, and Sierra wants Andy for strength too. So even though it seems pretty obvious that Andy should go home, majority of people going into tribal seemed to either be down for the John vote or have more reasons to vote out John than Andy. So it definitely seemed like it wasn't going to be good for John. Sam thinks that John is a very strategic player and weaker than Andy in the challenges. So that's why Sam also was leaning more towards John, but Sam was definitely not going to do Annika. So I definitely do see a a girls with Sam alliance. Um, and then at Tribal Council, we didn't really get too much to talk about at Tribal. It ended up being a 5-1 vote, one for Annika, five for John. And John Lovett is the first person voted out of Survivor 47.
Pod Save America, man. You guys are about to do numbers. Well, for the Survivor community. But yeah, no, for someone who is fairly well known, we even talk about how this is the podcast host season of
Right,
all
right,
time.
yes.
Last year we had all the lawyers. This year we got all of the podcasters, the writers, the radio people. That's what people, the
Sports
journalism people,
reporter.
sports reporter. I'm looking at all of their occupations right now. Teeny's a freelance writer. Rome is an esports commentator, talker, so that counts.
Hmm.
I'm going to call it. Research manager, podcast host for John, sports writer for Sam. There's
Asia
people.
doesn't say podcast host, but she is a
Oh
podcast
yeah, she is
host.
a podcast host for Asia, and Gabe's a radio show host. Well, at least one for every tribe, and for some of them, it's majority. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see that sports reporting is and talking is the dominant
Mhm.
force of the season. It's fun. I
Yeah,
like it.
absolutely. Yeah, I like it. I definitely do. Um, and so scenes from the next episode. Let's do a little predicting.
Hmm.
So we got Annika says Andy is giving toxic, clingy boyfriend. I totally see that. I mean, he's already in episode one, he was already giving it to Rachel. I'm just surprised that Annika said that about Andy. So now is he being toxic clean boyfriend to Annika too? What's going on? I don't know. I do think that this is a good thing for Andy though. Not the fact that he's being called a toxic clingy boyfriend, but the fact that that is in the preview. A lot of times they like to put a little something that ends up being a quick scene in the episode and not anything having to do with, oh, this is why we should vote them out. So this kind of sets up for maybe Andy surviving this next episode. In my opinion, I do think he'll be out soon, but I don't necessarily think will go back to tribal. Um, they are really good at puzzles. Well, not this puzzle, but in general, I feel that Rachel did well on the first puzzle, so I could see them with the right puzzle winning immunity.
Mhm.
Soul says that Rome is a lot. Yeah, Rome is a lot.
Surprise.
But yeah, not a surprise. Nothing really there to talk about. Tawana says he called all of us losers. Um, I don't know what to think about that. Who would be the he? Would it be, did TK get really pissed off that everyone did so bad? Was it Kyle who said something? Was it Gabe who said something? Was it Jeff who said something?
That'd
Was
be
Jeff
awesome.
calling them losers?
But why would you call it losers unless you're going to tribal? Or something happened at camp. Maybe they let the fire go out or
Yeah,
something like
I'm
that.
I'm almost certain I could be so wrong, but I think either in a reward challenge or an immunity challenge, Blue will lose some sort of challenge in this next episode. I think
Mhm.
it'll be immunity. I think they're going to tribal.
Hmm.
That's why I predicted that earlier in the episode. I mean, in the podcast. Sue says the rage on her face that put the nail in the coffin. I also think that could be about a challenge. I think there could be um a girl who ends up having a lot of rage. I think it could be Tawana, who ends up being the girl who she's talking about, and probably it's going to be like a Tawana versus whoever's called them losers, like getting mad at each other for doing bad in the challenge.
Mhm.
Um, so I suspect Tawana might be in trouble on the blue tribe if they go to tribal. And then whoever this guy that called them losers is. I don't think Gabe would do that. I could see it being TK or Kyle. Um, Probably TK more likely than Kyle, but I we haven't seen much from Kyle, so maybe he's just gonna have a crazy blow up in episode two. So we'll see.
I mean, he didn't have much of an episode here, so maybe, introduce
Yeah,
yourself to the game by calling everyone losers. Why not? Why
yeah,
not?
why not?
Make yourself known.
Uh-huh. Um, and then Sam says he wasn't ready for the bomb that Andy was about to drop. What bomb does Andy drop? I'm thinking it could be
Idol.
an idol. Will he find an idol and then tell Sam, "Hey, I found this beware advantage"? And Sam's like so shocked because why would Andy tell Sam about the idol? Which
No
is
one on
probably what's going to
yellow has
happen.
the
It's
advantage
probably what
yet.
I'd be thinking too. Why the hell would you tell Sam this? That's probably what Sam's thinking too. Why would you tell me this? Thank you though. But he was probably so shocked because he didn't expect Andy to was that close with him.
Andy needs to try something. So honestly, I definitely can see that happening
Hmm.
for sure. And Andy, obviously feeling on the bottom, is looking for it most likely. So
Yeah.
that I feel like that of everything to happen, that's like the most concrete, probably going to happen thing going on in episode two.
Okay,
Um,
so scenes from the next episode, predictions. Blue's going to tribal, Tawana's going home.
ooh,
Um, Andy is going to find the beware advantage and tell Sam. Uh, and yeah, and that's my those are my two big predictions for the next episode.
if you're asking me, I definitely do see Andy finding the idol or finding the Bear Lair advantage to tell Sam. Totally see that happening. I think that's a lock actually. I'm looking at this red tribe right now. We didn't get too much from Saul. And for him to come up with these arguments with Rome, I think Saul being one of the four to find Rome in the water well is kind of rubbing off on him. I think that's what we're seeing. So
I
I
think it's
think
more so Saul and Asia are probably close allies, and they both just can't stand Rome.
that too. But
Or maybe Jerome is just being, or it could have been like I remember there was a scene from the next episode of 45 where people were like saying how Bruce was a lot. And
yeah,
because Bruce was just doing some crazy ass things
well,
at
he was just full of
camp.
energy all
He
the
was just
time.
full of energy. So, and he did not go home that round. He didn't go home for many, many rounds. So, I think it's just that. I think that Rome is just a lot. and Soul says he's a lot. And it was meant to make people think that that was going to be because Rome was going to be targeted, but I don't think Red's going to go to tribal.
I think just because of that, Red's going to tribal. I understand what you're
I see.
saying with
So that's
Blue.
your prediction, Andy with the idol and Red's going to tribal?
Yes, and I think because we were from episode one, we were meant to believe that Rome is on the outside. And what are you seeing from scenes for the next episode? Rome is a lot. We know that. What else is there? Can we dig a
Right,
little
right,
deeper,
right.
Pat?
Okay.
I feel like I think it's, there's something else going on with Red. It can't be just that. We already know that. You know,
Hmm.
I think there is something there. I'm not sure who's going home because of the idol. It makes things a lot more blurry.
Hmm.
But I think it is Red that's going to tribal, and I think people aren't expecting it. That's enough of a hot take. But I understand why you think Blue's going to tribal.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see who's right. Or if none of us are right and yellow goes back to tribal,
Boo.
which would be crazy. But um, I'd say my top people to win, honestly, the the girls I'm more confident than the guys that I had up top. I'd say Caroline, I think, is also in a really good spot early on. I don't know what her relationship is with people other than Sue, but I would assume that she's very charismatic and someone people would want to work with. Um, so I could see Caroline doing well. And Sierra, we haven't seen anything bad from her yet. So I could see Sierra still being a good contender. So and I also think Sam can be a dark horse. I think that he's a wolf in wolf's clothing, like he said. And I think that he could be someone like Austin, who is just the biggest person on the season, but still is able to make it to the end based on alliances and personal relationships. Um, so we'll see if Sam could can make it to the end and make a big run.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. I think he'll end up being a power person early on and a target early on, but I thought that about Austin, and Austin made it to the end. So I'd say I'm decently high on Sam. Maybe not as a winner, but to make it decently far or have a good chance. Caroline and my winner pick would be Sierra. What would
Okay.
you say are your maybe top three and then your winner pick from those top three?
I'm giving it up to the ladies. Like you said, I am very impressed with what they're showing me so far. I think Keyshawn is like that fourth person that's barely cracking the top three. If I want to give it out and mention. In no particular order, I'm going to go left to right on my screen. Sue, I think just the fact that everyone wants to talk to her, everyone wants to be your best friend. I think that's always a position that you would want to be. And she's not going to be looked at as a physical threat. So if she has the relationships early enough to carry her to the merge, people are not going to think she's a challenge threat. So that could give her a round, maybe two, for her to build relationships. So I think that's a really strong start, a really strong beginning to the game for Sue, and that's what you always want, right?
Hmm.
I think Rachel, I think we talked about, has a lot of power. I'm picking one from
Yep.
each tribe. I think Rachel's going to have a lot of leverage in the coming rounds. I don't see her being a straight, flat out target by anybody. Could be wrong, but I mean, that's what the predictions are for. She does need to survive tribal though. Otherwise, she might be burning some bridges too early, which could maybe makes me a little scared to put her in my top three, but I think she's done well enough and positioned herself well enough to have a lot of leverage and have a lot of say and for her what's good for her game. So Rachel in my top three, and then Teeny. I think it's pretty easy. Keyshawn and Teeny kind of in that little core together. Is just gonna breed nothing but happiness for her. Her and Keyshawn being in core together. I do give the slight edge to Teeny because I'm biased and because and because she does want to give olive branch to Asia, and I think that alone will help her in the start at least.
Okay.
Help help get another ally that's outside
Mhm.
of maybe whatever is going on with Genevieve and Keyshawn. And that could be an amazing thing, or it could bite her in the butt. It's because of that she's not my overall winner pick. And I think because of tribal scares, Rachel's not my overall winner pick. It's Sue. I think
Ooh, okay.
I, I think she's on a really strong tribe. So I think A, she might not go to tribal for a long time. Again, I predicted red to go to tribal, not blue.
Mhm.
So I think that's gonna help her. I think right now she's not the clear target and she has people that want to work with her. And I think the sky's the limit if that's the case. And yes, she's an older woman in this game, but I think those people are starting to I think that type of mold of player is going to excel in the new era. Everyone needs their mom, right? Like their mother figure, and she's gonna fit that role a-okay. Like she is already filling that role, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna help her a lot. She does have a lot of obstacles in the way. If someone calling her a loser, is she gonna blow up a challenge really badly where they do go to tribal? Again, we're gonna have to see, but I think right now she is my winner pick.
Okay. Okay. Very nice. I think someone who's on the brink for me is also Teeny. I
Mm,
think Teeny is the best player on the season. I think she is going to be able to make alliances the easiest on the season, as we've already seen, especially during tribe swaps and everything. I think she's overall the best Survivor player. She has played extremely well in LRG Survivor games that she has played in because she knows how to connect with people. She knows how to make alliances. She's good at the fast-paced game of Survivor because these
mhm.
LRGs are fast-paced and Survivor, the new era, is more fast-paced. Um, and I think she's really smart when it comes to Survivor strategy. Uh, and the reason why I don't have her as my winner pick is because even though I think she'll be very good at playing under the radar, it should I think she's too good at making relationships to where she will be possibly like maybe a later boot than Kelly from 45, but similar reasoning behind getting her out because
Okay.
she is so good at social relationships. She might, let's say she ends up being a target at one time. She gives an amazing pitch to someone why they shouldn't vote her out, and that actually makes them want to vote her out even more because she's so good at doing that. And so I think if Teeny can prevent other people from seeing how amazing of a social player she is, I think she can easily win this game.
Hmm.
But I feel like there are smart enough players in this game where they'll realize Teeny is so good socially, we can't let her get further than whatever round she.
I I agree. I agree. People are too good at this game now.
Yeah. But yeah, Teeny, play amazing first episode by her, and I expect great things from Teeny. She's going to be in this game for a while, and if she goes out early on in the merge, she's going to make a big mark on this game regardless of when she gets out.
Mhm.
So yeah, Jackson, thank you so much for joining me for this recap. It was so much fun recapping with you, and thank you for stepping in for Pat. Pat's been he's busy with work stuff and stuff like that. Won't be able to go on too many of these podcasts, so we're gonna keep having guest hosts on. If you want to join the podcast, if you want to hop on as a guest host in a future episode, please let me know. DM me on Instagram at either at tribal underscore lines underscore pod for the Tribal Lines podcast page, or me directly at Stephen Lupo 9 on Instagram. And we'd love to have you on as a guest host, just like Jackson. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Dude, you got it. Make sure you check out Survivor Brand for airing till January. I almost said July again. January 11th. It's going to be a fun one. And I hope everyone enjoys 47. Steven, thanks for having me, man. It was a lot of fun to talk Survivor with you,
Of course, dude.
as
It's
it
always a
always is.
pleasure. Always a pleasure. And yes, definitely check out the Caucus Challenge Season 17. It is out right now. Episode 1 is out. They're going to be every Sunday night is going to be an episode on YouTube, the Dre Media YouTube page. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing season, and I would love for you to watch me in it because it's going to be a good one to watch. I'll just say that. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Can't wait to recap episode 2, and we'll see you soon. See ya.